Unfortunately, I've made a few rest in peace videos over the past 2 years because of some things that were important to me that we have lost. But we're not going to talk about social networks today. We are going to talk about the loss of My Chemical Romance. So just a background check for the people who aren't aware. The news came about on March 22nd, and here's a story about how I found out. I was in Orlando for Playlist Live, as you saw from my last video. Friday night into Saturday morning, I needed to be up at 8 a.m. to head over to Playlist Live. It was about 3 in the morning when I get woken up by Thomas, and he says, something happened to MCR, you need to read this. But I was not going to believe it until I found the actual source. So when I went onto the actual website and saw the real message from the band and knew from that moment that it was a real thing, I was very, very heartbroken. This is very emo of me, but Thomas did hold me as I cried myself to sleep that night. And this probably isn't a good thing to say because this is a band that gets so much stuff for creating this emo image and making people suicidal and all of these other things. So let me just explain to you why this was so significant for me. Now when I found MCR, I wasn't someone who was very into music. The only CD I really had at the time was Avril Lavigne's CD. I didn't listen to music that much. It was just sort of whatever Z100 played. So we finally got cable and I was finally opened up to MTV, VH1, and this was during the time when they still played music videos all the time. That's how I found out about things like Foo Fighters and U2 and Green Day and all bands like that. But something about I'm Not Okay, I Promise jumped out at me a little more than any of those bands did. And this was all in about 2004, 2005. So in 2007, I actually wrote a letter talking about how significant MCR was to me. So I could actually give you a little insight as to what I was thinking back then. This is 6th grade, by the way. And if you want to be filled in on the situation of why this is all the way it is, you can click my face or whatever and you can watch my bullying video because that gives a lot of insight into how I ended up in this. At the beginning of the year, when I still had my popularity, I saw the video for I'm Not Okay, I Promise, right when it came out and aired on TV. I had seen many other music videos before, I had heard a lot of music before, but this was definitely something different. I also realized I was a very different person when I tried to push the punk rock image of myself when I was in school. When I was away from those girls, I became the nicest person. I didn't feel like I had to be mean to fit in anymore. But still, back then, I thought those girls ruined for me the worst, and I wanted revenge. If that doesn't sound juicy, I don't know what does. There's also a very specific story when I got the album 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, when my mom was sick with cancer but doing better for the first time in years, and this was right before she passed away. So I vividly remember listening to this album whenever I was in the car with her, and I would sing out loud when I listened to the music, which is probably very annoying. So I would sing the curses, like there's a lyric like, I'm gonna string this motherfucker on fire, and I sang it and my mom got really mad at me. That's just something funny I remember. But on a less funny note, I got into their first album, I Brought You My Bullets, Love. This was in the fall now when my mom was on chemo again and she wasn't doing so well, and she would mention to me, oh, I heard you singing last night. And she didn't say to stop, she didn't say anything, but she sort of heard me crying, singing, and I did that a lot. So I guess it was sort of like a coping method when everything was going on. My first concert on February 23rd, 2007 was an MCR concert, and that was when there was a big gap between the Black Parade and Danger days, so I didn't get to see them until Roseland Ballroom, which was December 3rd, 2010. So that was a big gap in between of almost 4 years, and I was very, very happy with that show. That was the best MCR show I ever went to, and Gerard Way was in his mother's coat. It was an awesome show. I was dancing, I was singing, I was moshing, I got punched in the face, and it was awesome. I never felt the same way about another show again. But I wound up seeing MCR about 6 other times, and I happened to be at the last show that they played, which was in Asbury Park for Bamboozle 2012. Long story short, this band has been there for me as my support system throughout literally my entire teenage life, now into my adult life. There are a lot of little memories too that attribute to all of this. I remember one specifically. They played a show on Mother's Day in 2011 in New Jersey, and they played Mama and Cancer, so of course I was very, very upset and I was crying. I never cry at shows. I'm not one of those girls. Oh my god! That was not me. I was genuinely upset. It was Mother's Day. Look at what the songs they're playing. I was just a wreck. Ray Toro happened to see me in the crowd and lock eye contact with me and was smiling at me because he saw how visibly upset I was, and that made me feel so much better. These are people who actually care about the people who listen to them. Certain songs that helped with certain things, like when my dad passed away, the Black Parade just came out, so that was something that was helping me with that. And in the beginning of my senior year when I went through a bad breakup, I had Danger Days and it helped me get through stuff. But I'm glad to say that I had this music to help me get through it. And I don't care how ridiculous that makes me sound. I don't care if it looks like I feed into it by wearing the shirts, oh god, or having the merch. This is something that has been very important to me, and I like having the things around me. I like seeing the posters, I like seeing the albums, I like keeping little memories from each show that I went to. These are very important things to me. So thank you, My Chemical Romance, for everything you have done for me. I think I turned out okay. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next video. Bye.
People love to say that rock is dead. They say every 5-10 years they say the same shit. They say rock and roll is fucking dead. I'm looking at a lot of people tonight, and I don't think rock and roll is dead. What do you think?